So we're moving on to the second part. We are discovering what's called the entity and how we create the dual consciousness, the second consciousness within us, which we will call fear consciousness. So think about this. The baby arrives, and what you'll see with the baby is it is love. It accepts everyone, everything equally. It doesn't distinguish. It doesn't say, I like you, I don't like you, you're ugly, you're beautiful. It doesn't have any of those distinctions. It's completely one with all. So it is never threatened by anyone. So that's the start of a baby's life. And we know that somewhere between perhaps 3 weeks after they're born, up to even a couple of years, it's very rare in today's society, probably within the first 2 to 3 months this happens. But there is a moment in time, just one moment in time. And a moment in time when something happens, some little incident happens. Let's say, it could be as simple as this. The baby is kind of mucking around, it's kind of learning to roll around and bit, and somebody drops a car keys on the thing next to the bed, and the baby just picks it up and goes, and puts it in the mouth. That's what it does, doesn't it? Takes everything, it's got to smell it, it's got to taste it, it's got to feel it, it's exploring. And it goes, and he puts it in the mouth, and someone goes, oh, no. Don't do that, and grabs the key off that. Perhaps it was as simple as that. And in that moment, that instant, the baby gets a realization that it's actually not connected. It's disconnected. That it's actually separate from all that is. We call that the birth of the entity. It starts seeing itself as a separate entity. So this happens in a moment in time. And in that moment, what is born is called fear consciousness. Because as you formed an entity that is separate from all that is, the consciousness that saw itself separate from all that is was one that instantly recognized that being separate from all that is, that it needed fear, that it needed to disconnect, to relate to each thing from a perspective of examining whether or not those things threaten it. So it became fear consciousness. And in that moment, the consciousness is of no point because it needs to create a mind that will actually channel and work. Can't use this because that's got a completely different purpose and is run by that consciousness. So it creates a mind. We'll use the term the lower mind. And that lower mind has two specific functions: protection and defense. Protection and defense of what? The entity. So when the baby was first born, it knows, that's a person who turns up here. He's the dad. It'll see it and go, oh, that's a person who turns up. He's great. They're all part of me. It's kind of like looking at your thumb and going, hello, thumb. Or looking at your finger and going, hello, finger. It's familiar to you. And then going, oh, I have never seen you before. I wonder what that is. Where did you come from? But it sees it in the space of just being part of it. And then suddenly it starts going, well, I need to know who I need to trust. Who can I be safe with? It's not logically doing this, by the way, and sitting down and examining this and working it out. This is some stuff we call subconscious. It is stuff that is now happening internally, a program that is starting to generate itself. And what it's doing is it's examining everything through the lens of fear. We call it the lens of fear. It's seeing everything and saying, trust, don't trust. Trust, don't trust. Threat, no threat. That's what it's doing. So then it starts to recognize, that person I can trust. And then I know, I give it a label, daddy. That person I can trust. I give it a label, mommy. We start identifying individuals, things, as separate things. Not part of us, but as separate from us. So the journey starts now for this child. And it's starting to look at the world, and it's assessing things. It's moving in and out of the two consciousness, moving in and out of the two minds, and it's progressing. And it's learning about the world. It is starting to see that the world is comprised of two elements. One, those that it can trust or not trust, or be threatened by or not threatened by, that it's clear about, and those that it doesn't know. And therefore, they need to be viewed with suspicion. So this is the journey that it starts. And for the next few years, this is a very, very important part of its development. And then something happens. The next thing will start happening. And there's another little development that starts arising in a baby. That happens around about 1 to 2 years in life. So that's the next thing that we're going to talk about.